Hello, my name is Kaylee Velez, and in this presentation we are going to learn about the anti-psychiatry movement and how the fundamental attribution error contributes to both sides of this movement. To start, let's get into some background to paint a picture for us. Psychiatry is the study of processes that involve or go on between people. The field of psychiatry is the field of interpersonal relations, that a personality can never be isolated from the complex and interpersonal relationships. One of the issues that stems from psychiatry is the stigmatization of mental health. One school of thought is that treating mental health makes people feel different or weak, just like any other illness. Anything can be stigmatized when people are made to be or feel like outsiders. Another issue is the relationships between patients and psychiatrists are sensitive in the sense that there has to be appropriate give and take when having conversations regarding mental health. And this is not always the case. What is the anti-psychiatry movement? In the 1960s, Irving Goffman, Thomas S. Szasz, and Michael P. Foucault started this movement to try to break the labeling and culture of mental illness by calling out mental health facilities and psychiatrists on their dehumanization of patients, over medicating, and the abuse of power in therapy between patients and psychiatrists. Jeppert discusses Edward Short's breakdown of the anti-psychiatry movement, which states that the basic argument is psychiatry is not medicinal, but it is social, political, and legal. Therefore, it must be broken down as such. Thomas Szasz supports this idea because of how mental illness holds up in the court of law. Someone can be mentally insane and be put in a psychiatric hospital indefinitely against their will, versus being what is deemed mentally normal and getting a fair prison trial and sentence. Many physicians and other professionals in the medical field have a mindset that having a mental illness such as schizophrenia is a blissful way of living, because not being connected to reality and its rules makes it easier for those with such illnesses to go throughout life. In other words, ignorance is bliss. In addition, they can sometimes think that mental illness is a means of just expressing one's beliefs, and these individuals are simply victims of psychiatry and its over-medication and over-institutionalization. Others say that mental illnesses are the worst form of suffering because of the inability to manage symptoms without help in some shape or form. Psychiatrists try to fight the stigmatization and ideation of the trade because many people with mental illness, including depression and anxiety, all the way to borderline disorders, need medical help in addition to therapy to gain remission and lead normal lives. Thomas Szasz says that psychiatry can be compared to something physical, such as back pain. If you go to the doctor for back pain and the options are surgery or no surgery, you can either continue with the pain going on without surgery and hope it goes away, with a chance that it won't go away, or you end up suffering long term after having a failed surgery. You either get better or are worse off than before. It's a gamble, just like going to therapy and or using medication meant for mental health. It either helps or it is a detriment to your recovery. Some say society needs to change and accommodate for those with mental illness. Others say those with mental illness need to accommodate themselves to conform to society because there are more people without mental illness than there are with mental illness. Next, we will discuss the stigmatization of mental illness. And there is a stigmatization not only of mental illness, but also treating it. It relates to the psychiatric phenomena, which are results from social, cultural, and biological factors. Psychiatric illnesses are socially unwanted, thus creating the stigmatization of having one. The way those with mental illnesses are portrayed in the cinema has been shown to create social opinions on those who have mental illnesses in reality. This is an example of the fundamental attribution error, one of the psychiatric or social phenomena. Basically, mental illness has become socially recognizable by the stigmatization and the stereotype of what society says it is to be mentally ill. That psychiatry is simply keeping the ill medicated and making a living off of terminally ill people where there is no cure. There was a trend during the development of the anti-psychiatry movement that people who were receiving psychiatric treatment were not being treated well at all. In fact, they not only were being stigmatized for having mental illness, but they were also stigmatized for receiving or seeking help with managing their symptoms. This can be explained by the fundamental attribution error, which can be defined as the tendency to attribute another person's behavior to their dispositional qualities rather than situational factors. And to wrap things up, the anti-psychiatry movement showcases how within this field there can be vastly differing opinions that have points to be considered. On one hand, psychiatry is a way to help people with mental illness find coping mechanisms to get the most out of their lives. On the other, there are people who believe that psychiatry can be more of a detriment and harmful than helpful. Regardless of the side we choose, the takeaway here is that the anti-psychiatry movement has called out people who think about those who are different. Both views on psychiatry can be explained through the fundamental attribution error. And thank you. Here are the references. Have a nice day.